When it comes to the fight against insurance companies, large corporations, and the healthcare industry, injured victims are always the underdog. But that doesn't worry us. At Messa & Associates, we're an injury law firm from Philadelphia, and we come to fight. Our clients know that they've got representation with a chip on its shoulder, and it's the same chip that makes Philly the toughest city in the country. Call 215-568-3500 or visit us online at messalaw.com. Messa & Associates, the toughest injury firm in Philadelphia.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Welcome in, everybody, to Football 24/7, a breaking news Monday, and great news for Eagles fans. DeVonta Smith has been extended. It's a 3-year, $75 million extension, but that comes on top of the 5th-year option they picked up. Plus, he has the 4th year of his contract this year. DeVonta Smith is under contract for the next 5 seasons in Philadelphia. John, I'll kick it right to you. What's your first reactions and takeaways from the extension of DeVonta Smith?
Whew, what a deal from the Eagles' perspective. You know, I was talking about this morning with both of our guests from a perspective of the long-term future of the wide receiver position, with DeVonta Smith scheduled at some point to get big-time money, and A.J. Brown already getting big-time money. It was going to be difficult to keep both of them long-term from a perspective, and that's why you start thinking about the draft coming up in a couple weeks, less than 2 weeks, and say, well, maybe a wide receiver is a low-key position of you want to flip it over and get younger so you have that more cost-effective pliability to it. But, yeah, man, the Eagles got it done, and as you mentioned, it was immediately expressed as a $75 million 3-year extension, but, you know, he's got this year on his rookie deal. They picked up his 5th-year option, which is just under 16 million, 15 and a half, basically. So you have that, and then the 25 million average annual value to get him under contract through 2028. Yeah, this is a win from the Eagles' perspective, and it's kind of amazing. Eagles fans should, I rarely get out the pom-poms, but I'll get out the pom-poms for this team because they get deals done that nobody else gets done. And it's pretty amazing. And I just talked about, look, I'll be honest, if I'm DeVonta Smith, the agent, I'm waiting for Justin Jefferson to sign. I'm waiting for Jamar Chase to sign and watching those numbers go up. Now, from the perspective of DeVonta likes playing here, no doubt about it. And you get 51 million guaranteed. And we'll see how that shakes out. I'm sure it's not all paid when he signs the deal, but that's significant life-changing money. And maybe, you know, how much money do you need at that point but, you know, the Eagles have created this environment where people want to stay, want to be a part of it, and they deserve credit for that, because this is a guy who, if he wanted to play the Kirk Cousins game and just maximize his value at all costs, he could have done it and made a lot more than this. So there's no way to look at this from an Eagles perspective and say it was a bad deal.
Yeah, really just amazing. Eagles get aggressive and they set the market instead of waiting for the market to be set. As everybody knows, there's a ton of big-name receivers out there that are waiting for their deals, and the Eagles get in front of all of them, and now you really lock up wide receiver 1 and wide receiver 2, or 1A if you want to call it that, for the foreseeable future. And it's, you know, as you mentioned, John, they kept the 5th-year option in there, so it's really like a $66 million guarantee for DeVonta from that perspective. But if you add in the 2024 this year, which is the 4th year of his rookie contract, that's a $6.4 million. That's 5 years, $96.9 million, roughly $19.4 million annually for DeVonta Smith to stay in Philly through 2028. I mean, that's incredible.
Yeah, it is. And I, you know, I'm sitting here looking at the deal and I'm saying, wow, you know,
I bet
But
you will look even better too once we see the cap hits.
yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. And you're saying
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. You mentioned that the guarantees on the 5th-year option when they sort of vest, yeah, you're going up. Maybe you aren't though. Maybe that's included in that. We don't know until we see the the nuts and bolts of the deal. So it'll be interesting to see. I'm sure there'll be void years as well on the back end to sort of help with the cap numbers moving forward. That's how the Eagles do business. But look, it's a very good deal. As I said, how much money do you need at that point? So it's really an indication of getting good um, players from the perspective of loving football. Sometimes we make fun of Nick Sirianni and the whole love ball aspect of it, but when you find people who enjoy playing, enjoy the sport, and they say to themselves, I like the situation I'm in, you know, I'm making all the money I could possibly need for the rest of my life. Why am I sit here and wrangle over every specific penny I can make? Um, that's understandable as well. And I think that's where DeVonta Smith is. But I mean, this is what the Eagles do. They identify foundational pieces early, and you described it well there, Xander. Set the market instead of waiting. Waiting never helps from a team perspective.
Right.
It all goes up, and the only way it's not going up is if something catastrophic happens, and then you're not going to have the player anyway because it's going to be injury related and something of
Right.
that nature. So, um, always act quickly. The Eagles do it. They did it earlier with Landon Dickerson. They did it again with Jordan Mailata. Nobody was even thinking about a Jordan Mailata extension because he had 2 years left, and they extend him. Why? Because he's going to be here. Why not do it early? Why not save some money on the back end? That's how the Eagles do it. That's how they have done it. And again, to get the unique nature of the 50-year option in there and say, yeah, we'll pay you that plus 75 million over 3 years on top. And remember, that 25 million was probably the height that the Eagles could go because that's what they're paying AJ Brown from an average annual value standpoint. So to get DeVonta Smith to buy into that is pretty impressive. Pretty impressive.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, it does take two to tango. It's a great job from the team's perspective, but it does say a lot about DeVonta Smith. He must like playing here. He must want to be a part of the culture that they've created, which is a credit to the team. And I think more importantly than most of it, he wants to win. And I think this is a team that has a good chance to win a lot of football games in the next couple of years. And that keeps DeVonta here through the 2028 season. John, what does this mean for the offense? There was a lot of talk last week about how is the team going to keep, two $25 million receivers? Does it mean anything at all? Does it mean they're going to gear up for the defense in the NFL draft? What's your outlook on how this changes the plans coming up in the rest
Well,
of the
I don't think it changes the plans that much for the draft. Yeah, maybe a little bit. There would have been an outside chance that if somebody like Brian Thomas fell a little bit to 2022, um, maybe they would have thought about it. Probably not now. But still, we talked to Devin Jackson earlier this
Yeah,
morning. He talked about Ricky Pearsall in the second round. I mean, they're still in the market for a third receiver, a natural slot receiver. Um, so that could be still in the equation. So I don't think it changes plans drastically. This is just a player that the Eagles knew was as I said, a foundational piece to their organization. And they wanted to get it done, just like Landon Dickerson. And that's the same draft. And the top of that draft is looking awfully good right now with DeVonta Smith and Landon Dickerson. So, yeah, I mean, great player, only getting better, has proven the durability concerns that because of his size and his frame that we all had when he came into the league. He's a very tough guy. Um, Nothing not to like about DeVonta Smith as far as work ethic and loving football and all that kind of stuff. So why not invest? This is the type of player you want to invest in, and the Eagles smartly did so.
couple questions in the chat of how much the money is. We'll run over the terms real quick. DeVonta signed a 3-year extension for $75 million with $51 million in guaranteed money. The deal also includes the pickup of his 5th-year option, which is $15.6 million. We assume that's fully guaranteed, but as you mentioned, that might be included in the $51 million number. But all things considered, it's really a 4-year deal for $90.6 million.
Yeah, remember he's still under
$51 million is
contract. He's
guaranteed.
still under contract this year as well
Right.
for a very
Yeah, I
cost-effective
think it's
rate.
$6.4 million this year.
And that part of it is, obviously his rookie deal. Now, the extension will get folded into it. The option year will get folded into it. There'll be void years when we'll get to see the actual numbers of the contract when it gets filed with the NFLPA. But I imagine we're going to see the cap numbers moving forward and be pretty impressed by those as well. If the Eagles' history is any indication, because they do a good job with this kind of stuff. And yeah, I was just talking to an ex-GM the other day, and he was mentioning, I don't know why you wouldn't wait. So from DeVonta Smith's standpoint, why wouldn't you wait for Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase? And the answer is he likes playing here. And who needs more than $51 million? Probably nobody. So when you have that mindset, there are other people who don't have that mindset. So the Eagles getting this done early is impressive, as it usually is when they do these types of things.
Yeah, and we're going to continue to give Howie Roseman his flowers here, because this really looks good for the Eagles. Here's a tweet from Dave Zangara, a friend of the network, NBC Sports Philadelphia Eagles reporter. And we talk about how Howie Roseman is playing a different role than what Nick Sirianni is, who wants to win now. The Eagles now have 5 players under contract through 2028: Jalen Hurts, Landon Dickerson, Jake Elliott, Jordan Mailata, and DeVonta Smith. So you can really start to see how he is, while also managing the now and winning in the now, he's building the team for the future with, as you mentioned, foundational pieces, which is really a credit to him. It's a hard job to do when the fans want to win now, the coaches want to win now, but you're the general manager of the football team. You also have to see years into the future, and you can really tell he does a great job at that.
Yeah, you do have to service those two masters as a GM, and sometimes it is a little bit different for the head coach and the GM. And the Eagles kind of highlighted that at the combine when Howie spoke first and talked about maybe Nolan Smith should have gotten on the field a little bit more in his rookie season. And 15 minutes later, Nick was up there saying, well, I'm going to play who helps me win on a particular game day. So it is a bit of a different job. And from Howie's perspective, he's trying to build up things for multiple years. And the goal is, and this really dates everything with the current Eagles dates back to Andy Reid and Andy Reid's philosophy. And he's who taught it to Howie. What the goal is to be consistently good, because so many things have to happen to win a Super Bowl. You have to have good injury luck. Obviously, you have to have good players. So many things have to go your way to win an actual Super Bowl. But the more times you get to the dance, and if you're consistently good, and if you get there year after year after year after year, the more likely it is those stars are going to align on one particular year, and you're going to get over the hump. So that's kind of Howie's philosophy, and he was taught that by Andy Reid, and he's ahead of the curve in most instances.
Good day for Eagles fans. We recapped it all in this episode of Football 24/7. DeVonta Smith extended through 2028. It's the 4th year, which is the 4th year of his rookie deal is this year. It's the 5th year option, which would be the 2025 season. And then the 3-year extension on top of that for $75 million with $51 million guaranteed money keeps DeVonta here for the next 5 football seasons. Future looks bright in Philadelphia, as you mentioned. If some of those stars align, This team has a great chance to make a run for the next, really few years. It looks like now you got Jalen Hurts, you got Saquon Barkley under contract for 3 years. You got A.J. Brown, DeVonta Smith, a lot of core pieces that Howie's done work on, and the future looks good for the Philadelphia Eagles right now.
Yeah, they've done a good job. And as you mentioned, those guys under contract long-term, and 3 of them just over the past month or so with Landon, Jordan Mailata, DeVonta Smith, even before Jake as well, got the extension this offseason. So, yeah, the Eagles are willing to pay those foundational pieces. And believe me, as you get to the later years of their deals, like right now, Landon Dickerson's the highest paid guard in football. Well, he won't be very quickly, and very quickly sooner rather than later. That will look like a cost-effective deal.
Yep.
From minute one, this looks like a cost-effective deal. That's how good.
Yeah,
this
it's only
is.
going to get prettier.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's hard to criticize the Eagles on this one. I would try, but it's really difficult to find something negative here.
Yeah, I mean, I was one of the guys in the camp of how are you going to keep 2 wide receivers at $25 million. You look at the Chiefs, you look at the Bills. These are teams that are getting rid of these receivers. And when you see these numbers on the DeVonta deal, we still haven't seen the cap hits, which is really where Howie Roseman shines. There's a good chance they can keep both of these receivers for the next 3 years, which is really incredible when you're paying a quarterback, top of the market money as well.
Yeah, and hey, all you have to do is look at Jalen Hurts' deal compared to most quarterbacks' deals. So the Eagles have been ahead of this for a long time. One of the guys, Jake Rosenberg, we talk about they're going to lose after the draft, but they have people in place to keep this thing going. Bryce Johnston and Adam Berry, Andrew Berry's younger brother. So they have this thing pretty much locked down. I'm just surprised more teams don't sort of copy what the Eagles do from a contract perspective, and more are, but a lot of this goes to Jeffrey Lurie as well. So you have to give him credit for giving the approval to some of these Boyd years on the back end. And, the Eagles, will be paying Jason Kelsey and Fletcher Cox because of Boyd years as retired players. So, you have to have an owner willing to do that and pay out money and approve. Maybe you're going to have some dead money in a particular year. So he's a big part of it as well.
That'll do it for this edition of Football 24/7. Big news is DeVonta Smith is extended through 2028. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Don't forget to like the show, subscribe to the network. John will be back tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. on Birds 365, breaking this down, breaking down the NFL draft, breaking down everything as we get ready for the draft, which is now just 10 days away. Thanks everybody for tuning in. John, thanks for jumping back on after Birds 365 this morning. Have a good day, sir.
All right. Thanks, Ender.
Thanks, everybody.
When it comes to the fight against insurance companies, large corporations, and the healthcare industry, injured victims are always the underdog. But that doesn't worry us. At Messon Associates, we're an injury law firm from Philadelphia, and we come to fight. Our clients know that they've got representation with a chip on its shoulder, and it's the same chip that makes Philly the toughest city in the country. Call 215-568-3500 or visit us online at messalaw.com. Messon Associates, the toughest injury firm in Philadelphia.
EAGLES, Eagles.